I think the squad at the minute's a very good one. I think there's some very good players in there that could go on and play at the next level. I think the thing that's probably hampered them this season, and that's probably in the manager's thoughts at the minute, is that there's a lot of players in there from different managers, different ways of doing things, different styles, different ways of playing. So I think the fact that there are probably people on different pages within that group will be the thing that's holding them back. I think the manager will be looking to get to the summer now. Maybe freshen things up, bring in his own players, set a way of playing out his own style and get everyone on the same page. So I don't think it's a case of them not having the quality or the right players. I think it's just bringing the group together and getting them on the same page of what the manager wants and ready to go again next season. I think that was probably one of the biggest games in my playing career, just because of what was at stake. It was a game that we were coming into after a disappointing performance at Braintree, I think it was, on the Saturday. We knew that if we got a victory at Hereford, then it put us in a great place on the final game of the season against Wrexham to go and pick the championship up. But the game kind of didn't go to plan, and as the time went on and you're getting closer to them final minutes, you think you've blown it, you think it's all over. And then Greeny pops up in the last minute, and I think every time everybody I speak to that was there that night, when you watch it back, it still gives you goosebumps now, and it's like you're reliving it. So it's biggest game for me, one of the biggest games in my career that I played in, just because there was so much riding on it. We put that much work in during the season. I think for me as well, being captain at the time, assistant manager as well, I'd seen it from both sides, the amount of work that the players had put in, the amount of work that Paul had put in. So for everyone that night to get that result, we knew that we were in a real strong position going into Saturday's game, and I think the memories will live with everyone. Good question. It's obviously been an interesting journey. It's been very challenging. I've had a lot of positive times, a lot of times that I've learned loads from. I think for me the biggest thing was going from playing to managing overnight was a big step for me. I obviously had certain things that I had ideas on that I'd like to see out on the football pitch, but putting them into place overnight was obviously a big surprise and a big shock for me. I think the biggest thing that's kind of took place over the years is that I've defined my philosophy a little bit more in a little bit more detail, and you get to know what you want. And for me, I've had to learn from kind of working on the job and experiencing things firsthand, rather than sitting in the back seat and picking things up, apart from the last probably 18 months where I've had opportunity to do that. So I think it's been a real good learning curve for me. Things have changed over the years, my ideas have changed, the way I see the game's changed, and that's all come through experiences. So it's been a good challenge. I think the biggest things I've learned is not to be too emotional and not to make emotional decisions. I think at the start, when I started at Mansfield, you become, because you've still got your playing head on, you go from playing to managing, and you're still feeling that player's passion on the touchline, and sometimes you make decisions that are driven by emotion rather than the brain. So I think that's the biggest thing that I've kind of took from over time, is that you need to keep a focused head on during the 90 minutes of a match day, and make sure that your decisions that you are making are intelligent ones, not emotional ones. I think the challenges that come with it, I've had a lot. I think in terms of winning football matches and trying not to lose football matches, and then dealing with footballers, dealing with players at the start, dealing with people that were my mates as footballers, to learning how to build different kinds of relationship with players was a real big challenge for me at the start. But all things that have helped me to get to where I am now and put me in a good position in my career. Interesting question for me. I think it's something that I've thought of over the years, since I first started in management at Mansfield. Since I've left there, I've heard kind of comments that we were quite defensive as a team, and we didn't probably attack as much as we should have. I think for me, the decision with that came down to the situation that we were in as a club. I think when we first took over, we were in a relegation battle, so the aim was to kind of stop the losing habit. I don't think we'd won a game in something like 10 games, so the challenge was to stop the team losing rather than to focus on consistently winning. I think we managed to do that in that season and stay in the league. I think the second season then was probably our best season, where we played some great stuff and got ourselves into a really positive position in the league, considering the budget and the resources that we had. We had one of the lowest budgets in the league at the time, and I remember, I think it was February, we played Dagenham at home, and we went into the top 5 of the league, which for the club at the time, with the resources we're dealing with, was fantastic, but we didn't have enough to push on and to move on to the next stage. And then in the final bit of the season, we ended up slipping back down the league. I think the disappointing thing for me as a manager was probably the third season, where because of the mentality that we had in the first season, where we wanted to obviously stop that losing habit, the second season then was about being organised, structured and rebuilding. I think the third season then we could have pushed on, and I think that came from me. I think we could have been a little bit more expansive and probably a little bit more open and attacking. So in hindsight, that third season was the one where I probably should have took the reins off a little bit and been a little bit more attack minded. I think over the years, and especially over the last 18 months at Barnsley, working with two fantastic managers, working under a different philosophy in terms of being a very front-footed team, very attacking, high-pressing team. It's something that has changed my thought process on the game and how I see kind of football being played. So that's been a real positive for me, to be able to have the mindset of being able to not lose football matches and be organised and structured, but then to be able to go and play on the front and attack and be expansive. So it's been a great learning curve for me, which I'm going through at the minute with an unbelievable manager. So I'm learning every day in terms of working with him and giving me new ideas. So it's not something, looking back, that I'd change wholly, because I think at the time, with the players that we had and the situation we were in, you have to work with the tools you've got, and I think we did that. Like I say, the third season was the one that we probably could have been a little bit more expansive and a little bit more front-footed, but like I've said in previous questions, these are all things in my experiences that have helped form my philosophy that I believe in now.